Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talking Craps. And I appreciate your patience. You know, Howard and I have been working on this for about 30 minutes, and we got tech support on the phone, and we got Ivy involved. And, it was just kind of a bit of a circus, I would have to say, as we were getting ready. But we should be good now. I think we are ready to rock and roll with Howard Rock-n-Roller Newman. Howard, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, David. It's great to be here again.
Yeah, so I can't believe it's already been about 4 months since you were on the show last. It was back in December. Time just flies.
Wow, time flies. Yeah.
And a lot has actually changed. You're back in the casino. You were in Biloxi a few weeks ago. You've got several trips planned that we're going to
Right.
talk about here in a few minutes. But really, the heart of the night is just going to be talking about some of your adventures as an actor, as an artist, as a musician, and of course, as a craps teacher. So I'm going to turn the show over to you. I'm going to monitor some of the comments, and we'll bring them in from time to time. And where would you like to start?
Well, let's see. Let's start with. I guess we could start my art career because that's when I started when I was a kid. I guess we could
Okay.
start over there and move on to other topics. All right, let's start with art. When I was a kid, I remember I was in elementary school. I used to see these movies, cowboy movies, and I used to see the war movies. World War II movies were real popular back in the 50s, and early 60s. And I would draw little scenes, little pictures. I get bored in class, and I would be drawing little pictures, and it was just for myself. I didn't think they were anything. And then I remember in sixth grade, the teacher says to me, my sixth grade teacher, what do you want to major in junior high school? They call it middle school now, but back then it was junior high, seventh through ninth. Said, I'd like to be in a band, like to be a drummer. So they gave me a test with the beats. I thought I did pretty good. And then when I got to seventh grade, all of a sudden I see that I'm in advanced art. And I'm thinking, what the heck? I can't draw. Why am I in art class? And I guess they saw something that I didn't even realize it. And then my parents signed me up for a school to go to a private art school every Saturday morning, and there they taught me how to draw with charcoal and pencil and pastel. I started doing pastel landscapes, and I started learning about that. So I was living in this little town called Maspeth, Queens back then. As a kid, in Maspeth, Queens, and was arts and crafts in junior high school. It was okay. But then when I moved to Rockaway Beach, I went to junior high school 180, and there they had an art teacher that was really good, and he would sort of,
Yep, sorry about that.
that's
I was going to pull up
that's
some of
all.
the artwork while you were talking about it.
But anyway, my art teacher, his name was Mr. Redwood, back in junior high school 180 in Rockaway Beach, and he took a liking to me. He saw that I was really motivated in my art. So he said, you know what? We're going to be doing arts and crafts with the students. Why don't you go in the back of the room and just work on your drawings and paintings? And I did. And I was drawing every day and enjoying art class. But I was kind of teaching myself because, I'd look in art books and get some ideas what to do. And I was just very creative. And then he suggested, why don't you audition for the High School of Art and Design, which is the top art high school in New York City for young artists. It was a tough school to get into. I think they took a third of the people that auditioned.
Gosh, sorry about that,
Wait a
Howard.
minute,
We're still
David.
plagued with these technical difficulties.
That's the audition right there. That was like one of the models we used to draw, but that was back in college. But anyway, I think you got to change that picture, David.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to it. I mean,
But
definitely the perils of live TV, right?
yeah, but it's like a comedy show, but we're having fun. But anyway, so I auditioned for art and design, and you had to bring a portfolio of your best work, and you had to draw a live picture of a model in class, and you had to also draw a picture from your imagination of a party with, I think we had 3 to 5 figures in the party, from your imagination. And I did well in it, and I was accepted to the High School of Art and Design, and I did very, very well there. And then I went to college and I majored in art in college. And oh, by the way, in art and design, it was in Midtown Manhattan. So it would take me an hour and a half on the subway to get out there. I'd leave early in the morning and, I'd
Yeah.
come home. It was dark in the morning and dark at night when I got back. There's the High School of Art and Design. I went there from 65 to 68. I can't believe we just had our 50th high school reunion. It's crazy. But anyway, it was a great school for arts. They didn't have any athletic teams. I think they had like a golf team. It was golf and a chess team because we didn't have a field. I mean, look at the school. It's in Midtown Manhattan.
Hmm.
The closest park was Central Park. So even though I liked to play baseball and football, I'd have to play at home when I got home to Rockaway. That's where I played sports.
Yeah.
But anyway, Salvador Dali would come there, and Peter Paul Mary would stop off. A lot of actors and celebrities would stop off at the high school, and got to meet Salvador Dali, and great artist now, and he made a big impression on me. And uh, I went to college. Oh, here I am as a high school student, probably like maybe like 10th grade right there,
Yeah.
10th or 11th grade, with my teacher there. I think that was a cartooning class, and we were doing strip cartoons there, and the teacher's, giving us a critique.
So at this
It was
point,
back in
you've done elementary school, junior high, and
right.
we've got a bit of an echo. It sounds like volume might be up a little too high, Howard.
My
Uh,
volume, okay. It
yeah.
sounds okay on my side.
Okay. So
How
um, what I'm curious about is, are you thinking this is a career at this point? Are you thinking
Yes,
you?
because the High School of Art and Design was such a professional school. We had to wear a shirt and tie and dress slacks every day. We were being groomed to go into the art world in New York. Not so much a fine art world like as a painter, which would be more more the hippie type of look back then. But we had room to go to Madison Avenue, work in fashion design, work in advertising design, that type of thing. So I'd have a portfolio I'd bring with me on a train every day. And I was dressed with a shirt and tie every day. Women, the girls weren't allowed to wear slacks. They had to wear dresses or skirts every day. It was very professional. So from that school, you could go right into Madison Avenue and work if you want to be in advertising design, fashion design, or even architecture. We learned architecture as well, and photography. We learned everything involved in visual arts. It was a great school, gave me great foundation. And then I went to college and majored in art. And then I worked in the art field. I worked as a commercial artist, as an illustrator for Strauss stores. And my ads would appear in the paper every week, my illustrations. But I didn't like the rat race. It was kind of like, hurry up, Howard, get those paintings out, and no, get those drawings out. We need to by 5 o'clock today. We have a deadline, and I didn't like the rushing. I want to be creative, so I really want to be like Monet and kind of like relax outside and paint beautiful paintings, landscapes, outside. I really don't want to be in the city so much with the rat race, taking a train every day. So I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do? Here I went off to college to be an artist. What am I going to do with my life? I'm only in my early 20s. So I decided, I went to Fort Lauderdale and also St. Petersburg one winter, during winter break and also spring break. So I love Florida. And there I could paint landscapes all year round. It's nice all year round. In New York, it was kind of like what's going on now. We had a terrible mayor. I don't want to be political, but we had a terrible mayor, and the city was going bankrupt, and there was a lot of crime back in the mid '70s. Actually, it was like mid '70s. Actually, it was late mid '70s. That's it. Like '74, '75. City was bankrupt. Even 42nd Street, which is all Disney and all kinds of great stuff now in shows. They had a lot of burlesque and peep shows back then. So I want to get out of New York. Well, okay, Florida. How am I going to get to Florida? So I thought about it, and I'm sitting on the subway one time, sitting in a subway, and I'm going to work because I was working during the day as a commercial artist, and then at night I enrolled in Hunter College in Manhattan to get my teaching degree. I already had a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, but now I wanted to get a teaching degree so I could teach. I moved to Florida. That was my new goal. And so I was doing that, and it was going really well, and I was enjoying teaching. And I put a poster up that I saw in the subway. It was a subway of National Airlines. Back in the day, they had uh, a girl's name, and it would say "Come fly me." Back in the that was the '70s. And the picture was a scene of snow and kind of misery in New York, and then beautiful beaches in Fort Lauderdale on the other side of the poster. Said, you know what? I want to live there. So I took that poster off the wall. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I said, you know what? That's a great poster. And I was living at home, and I hung it up in my bedroom, and I looked at it every day. And that's where I want to live. And I just focused on it, which I later found out, well, it's the law of attraction. When you think about something and it's constantly in your mind, you make things happen. You attract it. You attract the right people to you, but of course you have to take action to make it happen. You just can't sit there. You have to take care of it. So what happened was I was in Hunter College, and I had my other job, during the day, and then I was offered a great job, and now I had a fork in the road. A college friend of mine recommended me. He was working for WABC TV, the network in New York, in the graphics department, and he recommended me for the job. They're looking for somebody, so I interviewed for the job, and they wanted to hire me. And I'm thinking, oh man, that's a great job, WABC TV in New York. What a great job. But then again, then I won't be in Florida. So I had to make that decision. And I decided, let's go to Florida. That was my destiny. Let's go to Florida. And that's what I did. And I student taught at Julie Richmond High School in Manhattan uh, for a year. Then I substituted on Long Island, which was funny because, Frank Scobleti became my friend back in back around 2001, 2002, when he came over to Golden Touch. Actually, it was Par. When he came over to Par, Frank Scobleti came in and watched the class, and talked about the captain and everything. But what I found out later was he was a teacher back then at a high school in Long Island, and I was subbing in the same school,
Hmm.
but we didn't know each other back then. I'm sure we saw each other, but we never spoke at that time. But we became very good friends, later on. So anyway, so I did eventually move down to Florida, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
You want me to
Yeah.
tell you a little more about that? Or?
So, yeah, hang on one just a second. I see a couple of questions that are coming in. Dice Grinder, I saw a question coming in from you. I'm going to hold your question for a few minutes. We will get to that, but I just wanted to let you know that I see it, and we will get to that. So Howard, you have relocated to Florida. But I think one of the other stories that you wanted to tell here was about how you met your wife and the
Okay.
Florida connection.
All right, I'll be happy to tell that story. Okay. Now, the way I got the job in Florida, by the way, because they weren't really hiring teachers in Florida. I got my degree and everything. But they weren't hiring anybody in Florida. There was a freeze. This was like this 1975. But I pressed on. I wore a suit every day, brought my portfolio around, and the car I had didn't even have air conditioning back then because in New York I need air conditioning. So here I am in Florida, and it's summertime. I'm going on job interviews. It's like 95 degrees and steamy out and raining every day. And man, I was soaking wet, but I still went on the interviews anyway. And I got a job in North Miami Beach at a really good area. And what got me the job was I also had on my resume that I could play the guitar. And they just happened to be looking for a guitar teacher and an art teacher. So that was the perfect fit. So I got the job. Now I was living in Florida, and I was lonely. I was all by myself. I didn't know anybody down here. Had a little apartment, a little studio apartment, and I started dating. And but I met Ivy at a party. It was a singles party. It was a bowling party for singles, and they had um, they had teams. And Ivy later on told me that women are funny this way. You know, she uh, she planned to be on my team. She liked the way I looked. I was working out the weights back then, and I was young, and she made up her mind to get on my team. And there were other pretty girls on the team, and I got their phone numbers, for later dates. And I had my little black book, and I wrote everybody's name in my book when I got home, so I remember who everybody was. And then it turns out that when I was in New York, I used to go to these dances every Wednesday. They're called Tempo,
Yeah.
Tempo, Tempo dances every Friday night. So I go to these dances, and my brother-in-law Stu, uh, that's Florida. And by the way, this Ivy in the yellow shirt in the background,
Oh, wow.
that was a single, that was a singles group where we would just play volleyball and do different activities. And that's Ivy. I don't know if we were dating yet then, but that's Ivy in the background in the yellow shirt. I think we just started dating. Isn't that funny? Yeah, but I was working out back then. Yeah. So what I found out was my brother-in-law's my brother-in-law's cousin was named Estelle, and he called her Essie. And I knew her because my brother-in-law Stu married my sister Arlene, and I found out that Essie would go to these tempo dances also because I met her at the tempo dance, before I met Ivy. And and later on, I came to find out that Essie would go with a group of girls, and one of the girls she would go with a friend was Ivy. But it's funny, our paths crossed, but we didn't connect at that time in New York. It wasn't until I moved to Florida that we met each other
Hmm.
at the singles group.
That's kind of crazy.
It was meant to be, right? It was meant to be.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, so let's move on a little bit to the acting career, and I'm going to bring up a couple of photos on how you got started. And I don't know if you're hearing the echo or not.
No, it sounds clear over here.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let me come over here, and I'm going to apologize for the picture you're probably going to see again. Let me stop that and bring in something
That's a good
different.
picture.
Yeah, hang on just a second. I don't mean to keep showing that particular picture, but it is a good segue into what's coming up next. Uh,
Oh,
Now,
okay.
you tell me the story. You've told me the story a few times about how you got recognized and who recognized you. Let's tell a bit the story about the lady you see here on the screen.
All right. That lady is Bunny Yeager. Now, when I met her, she was a blonde,
Oh,
and the
really?
way I met her, the way I met her was when I was teaching. I made up my mind to be a teacher, right? And after about 5 or 6 years of teaching in Florida, the kids are getting kind of on my nerves. It was junior high school, and some of the kids are kind of bratty, and it's like I don't know if I can do this for another 20 years. I like teaching, but I don't know. So I said, well, what am I going to do? So I ended up reading a book, Think and Grow Rich,
Hmm.
which had to do with the law of attraction. It's like I know this stuff, like what you think about, you become. That was the book,
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich. Anyway, so I put together this T-shirt company because I learned how to do silk screening, and that worked really great. And I was making a lot of money. Oh my God, it was great. Matter of fact, I got so busy. I started out working in my garage, and and I remember I had these big trailer trucks coming to my residential neighborhood and dropping off like hundreds of dozens of T-shirts to my house, my double car garage, which was my little factory where I was printing all these shirts up.
Hmm.
And of course, the neighbors complained. We have codes here in Coral Springs, so I had to get a warehouse in a different and hire people to do work for me. But anyway, one day I took my T-shirts down to this Miami Beach Convention Center, and they were having a whole touristy thing going on there. So I brought my T-shirts there, and they were like souvenir T-shirts. Beautiful scenes of Florida that was still screened, and I would sell them to the tourists. And in the booth next to me was this attractive woman. She was blonde, Bunny Yeager, there with the bombshells, and she came over to me. And we were talking, we were just chatting, and she was selling like movie magazines and things like that, about movie memorabilia. And she says to me, have you ever thought about acting and being in commercials? And I was like, it was like 1980, so I was 30 years old. And I said, no, I never even thought about that. She says, well, look, you're a good looking guy. You're tall. I'm about 6'2", 6'3", and you look good. You would be great in the movies. Yeah, there's my headshot, and then a small print that says Bunny Yeager photography. You know, she took my headshot for acting, and she says, "I'll do your headshot. Let's do a barter. I'll do your headshot for you and tell you which are the good agents in town in Miami, and maybe you could make up some T-shirts for my business, my movie magazine business." So I said, okay, let's do that. That'd be fun. So I went to his studio in Miami. It was a real professional studio, and I never heard of Bunny Yeager back then. And what I come to find out later on was that she was actually a pinup girl back in the 50s, and also a very very famous photographer, and she would do all the layouts, all the photographs for Playboy magazine whenever they do a shoot in Miami. And she also discovered Betty Page back in the 50s. So Bunny Yeager was a model and also a photographer. But when I met her, she was already, in the 50s, and I was 30 years old. So, I didn't really find her attractive. She was an older woman to me back then. Uh, so we didn't have that kind of relationship, but we became friends. And she took my pictures and she just introduced me to right agents. And the agents, at first, when I called them up, they said, well, we have enough actors. We don't really need anybody new right now. And she says, well, just send them your photograph, send them your headshot that I took. And I did. And then all of a sudden, I started getting phone calls from agents and casting directors to come down and interview. And now I had never acted before, so I didn't have any experience. Matter of fact, the first movie I was in was called Blue Skies Again, and Harry Hamlin starred in it. And
Yeah. Howard, if I could
and
interrupt for just one second.
again,
Everybody, please bear with me for a moment. I'm going to see if I can fix this. I was trying to do it behind the scenes, and it just wasn't working. Uh, so
what do you do? You can
I'm
just
trying to
put
figure
up
out
a
how I
whole
can delete
picture.
my picture off of this, and it's just not working. Does not want to cooperate
Oh,
with me at all. So
you can do it like last time, or just put the picture up if you like.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. It's going to slow things down a little bit, but this definitely isn't working. So let me come back over here to this. I apologize, everybody. This is not the quality production that you are used to. I know if Slam was out there, he would be saying that right now. Uh, okay, Harold, go ahead and continue. They're talking a little bit about acting, and I'm going to see if I can find some of the pictures of the actors while you're.
Yeah, and put a picture of Buddy Yeager and Betty Page. Oh, here I am being made up for a commercial. Look at that car. It's
Yeah,
got an old Chevy, right? But that was new back then. It's old now. Yeah, but yeah, that was a commercial for New Finish Car Wax, and I had the lead role. Here I am. I was a spokesman. I had the lead role in that commercial for New Finish Car Wax, and that was around 1980, 81. But you can see I was in good shape back then.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can find a couple of the pictures from the movies. Let's see here. Here's
Okay.
one.
Oh, here I am in a police movie. Yeah, that's a good one. Yes. Police Story. That was a good one. That was filmed in Miami.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to fumble over all of those. So I'm going to have to shy away from the pictures. I had them all queued up in that other screen that just got messed up. So I think we're going to have to abandon the pictures. So let's talk a little bit about. So you started as an artist, you went into the movies, and then
Right.
life happens, and it's time to have a family.
Oh,
Yeah. So
yeah.
what
All right. So
happens after that?
what happened was, so I'm going on these interviews. Now, at the same time, I formed a rock and roll band because that was another one of my dreams, to be a rock and roll singer. Earlier, you saw a picture of me with a poster in my room as a young guy with the Elvis in the poster. There's Ivy and I, when we had our band. You see, I'm playing the guitar left-handed,
Mhm.
and wearing my rock and roll T-shirt, and I was thin, and Ivy was wearing her 1980s hairstyle back then, kind of a Farrah Fawcett type of look. Yeah. So that was, and that was a pastel painting that I did when I was a kid in school in the background. But anyway, we had a rock and roll band that went really well. I was doing the movies at the same time, and I was playing in softball leagues every like 3 times a week. I was really active in sports. I love softball. Yeah, Betty Page. Nick, do you have a picture of Betty Page again? I think
Yeah,
Nick would like
I
to see a
got.
picture of Betty Page. She's the dark-haired pinup girl
Yeah, give me a
that he
second
kept
here.
showing earlier. The other one.
I'll look for it. Keep going, and I'll look
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. So so here I am acting, and I love it. I love acting because to me, there's Betty Page. There she is. Yep. She was a really popular pinup girl back in the 50s. Real popular. And matter of fact, when they have this rockabilly weekend in Las Vegas. Half the girls are dressed like Lucy, Lucille Ball. The other
Hmm.
half are dressed like Betty Page,
Hmm.
rockabilly weekend. But anyway, so I was doing my acting and I loved it. I mean, but sometimes I get a part, I audition, I get a part for a week-long shoot in a movie, and then other times I would just get a one scene, 1 day shoot. And commercials also a couple of days here and there, and I loved it. The problem was that that I wasn't making steady money. The money was good, um, but Ivy wanted to start a family. So let's start a family. She's in the 20s, and and we did. But now it's like we have a mortgage, we have a house. She's not going to work, and I don't want to be a some of the actors in Hollywood, they work as waiters during the day and go on auditions afterwards. Well, I don't want to do that. So I said, well, what can I do? And I don't want to go back into the advertising world, and I don't want to go back into teaching. So I said, what can I do? So one day I'm in the car and I hear a show about a trainer for the Miami Dolphins. And, what's it like being a trainer? I said, man, I played football. I played 1 year in college football and played with my friends. I loved it. I could be a trainer. I could learn how to do that. When you're young, you can do anything. And I'm very creative. So I felt like I could do anything. And so I went back to school, but I didn't have enough time to go back to physical therapy school and get a license. So I went to massage therapy school, which was a much shorter time to be licensed. And I picked out a really good school, and I found I had a real good knack for it. I had healing hands, and I really enjoyed it, and people liked my touch. And when the baby was born, I was picked up, but the biggest chiropractor in Broward County needed a massage therapist to work in his office, and he hired me. And right off the bat, I was seeing 50 patients a week. I was so busy and I loved every minute because I was helping people all day long. They come in with aches and pains. I wasn't doing those foo-foo massages, that everybody likes those. But I was doing more medical massage, which I like. I like helping people and getting them out of pain. So I was doing that all the time. And then the baby came, and then eventually I opened my own office, and I had an office for 20 years over at University Hospital, massage therapy, and we had a very good medical doctor working on the staff, and other therapists working for us, and Ivy was the bookkeeper, and she was also the office manager. We had a lot of employees, and at the same time, I got involved with craps on the side, and I was teaching with Golden Touch. So I, leave my office for a few days at a time, for a weekend to teach a class. But the office kept going because I had other therapists to fill in for me. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to set my sights on my art again. I really, I neglected my art. So I said to my doctor friend, I said to him, you know what? I'm going to be in galleries. You're going to see in the next couple of years, I'm going to be exhibiting in galleries. You know, so I got involved. I started painting every day, and I took off from work every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'd paint all day long, and put together a collection of paintings. And started sending out slide sheets to different galleries, and I started hitting. I mean, not every time. It's like auditioning for acting. Sometimes you get the part, sometimes you don't. And I started connecting, and I had shows in Bal Harbor, Florida, shows in Palm Beach, shows in Miami, and I started moving up the coast to Washington D.C., then Chicago had my paintings, and then I got up to New England and had shows there. And then I hit the big time, New York City, and I was in a few different galleries in New York City, and it was just great. It was just great, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But of course, 9/11 happened, and the galleries I was in down in Soho closed because the business was really bad after that. And that's when I changed careers again.
So, artist, licensed massage therapist, musician, actor. Yeah, you've done a little bit of everything. And in fact, Nick Bortz is out there. He was teasing you. He says, "Man, the only thing is not on your resume is a bar fighter."
Hey, I'm a lover, not a
Yeah, I'm a
fighter.
lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
All right, so just real quick, everybody out there in the audience, we're going to move into craps here in just a couple of minutes. So if you have questions that you would like to ask Howard, please go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll queue them up, and we'll get to them here shortly. So Howard, let's really for a minute, let's touch on the music. You've actually had an opportunity to meet with several famous musicians. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about maybe the Shirelles? I know that's the one group that comes to mind. How did you meet them?
Yeah. Um, all right. The way I met them was after 9/11. It was the last art show that I had. What happened was there was a investment fund company that bought the rights to one of my paintings. They paid me $10,000 for the rights to use my painting I did of Ebbets Field, in Brooklyn. And I like painting nostalgic scenes of New York. So one of the paintings was Ebbets Field, and they liked it so much they bought the rights to use it, and they used it on T-shirts and bags and different things, a print of my work. And I wish I would have taken a picture to show you because I have one framed, you know. But the next time I'll show you that one. Um,
Okay.
so anyway, so they invited me to go to a big party, their annual shareholders party in Manhattan. Now September 11th, 2001 was, the really bad stuff with the World Trade Center, right, with the terrorists. So this party was scheduled for later in September. And I was real nervous about going into New York, especially after that. I mean, we didn't know for sure whether there were going to be more terrorist things going on. But I came in anyway, and I invited my sister Shelley, who lives in Long Island, to come to be my guest to the show. And we went to the show, and it was in a big ballroom, very classy and swanky. Everybody was wearing shirts and ties and suits, and it was real fancy. And they had top entertainment there. It was great. And I was like the guest of honor because I designed not the logo, but I designed the Ebbets Field logo they were using, for their souvenirs to give all their shareholders. And on the show is Jerry Seinfeld as an entertainer, doing comedy. Liza Minnelli was there singing, and then and they all signed the T-shirts, the sweatshirts. And then came the Shirelles later on, and I got to talking with them. And then, they're from New Jersey. We were talking because I'm from New York, and we got to talking. Shirley and the Shirelles, and that was really great. And then they had Beatlemania, and they had other acts, so I got to meet them all. And we sat until it was very informal. After they performed, we all kind of sat around and talked. So that's how I met the Shirelles. Now, one of the groups that I met that I really like, it's a nice story, were the Tokens. The Tokens were the group that sang "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" back in the '60s. Real popular song back then, number one song. And they were a doo-wop group from Brooklyn, from Brighton Beach. And they also had a lot of other good hits. But "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" was their biggest hit. And I'm a record collector, so I had their picture sleeves, from their different 45s, back in the day in their albums. And So Ivy and I were on a cruise. We were on a cruise out of Miami, and we go to lunch, during the cruise, and they sit us at a table with a bunch of guys, and we don't know who they are, just strangers, and we're talking to these guys, right? And one guy says, yeah, he lives in Hollywood, California, and another guy lives, somewhere else. And they said they're originally from Brighton Beach. Now, Ivy's family, her grandmother and father, are from Brighton Beach. So they thought, yeah, there's the Shirelles. And there's Shirley in the middle next to me in the gold outfit. Yeah, the Shirelles. Um, and you'll see me with the tokens in another picture. I don't know if you'll find that one.
Hmm.
But but anyway, so we're talking to the tokens. Well, we didn't know they were tokens. We get talking to these guys at lunch, having a nice lunch together, and then they're talking about Brighton Beach, and Ivy's from Brighton Beach, her family, and we're talking about Brighton Beach and blah blah blah. And then Ivy says, "Are you guys the tokens?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh my God." Because I have, their picture sleeves and their records, from the early '60s. And but Mitch Margot was the Margot brothers. Mitch and Phil Margot, was Mitch Margot in the pictures on my picture sleeves. He was a kid. He was like 15 years old in the picture. Well, now he's like, probably 50 years old when I met him. So I didn't recognize him at all, And we started talking about the tokens, and I know a lot about music, the history of rock and roll. And we're talking all about the Tokens hits, and I know all their records. They produced Tony Orlando and Don. They produced the Chiffons, One Fine Day, and those songs, the Chiffons. And they also produced on BT Records, which BT Puppy Records, which was their label, the Happenings back in the mid '60s. The Happenings, See You in September and Go Away Little Girl, all those great mid '60s songs, and they produced all those records. And I knew that they also produced Randy and the Rainbows, and Randy and the Rainbows was my high school. Oh, there's the tokens. There they are. Yeah, Randy and the Rainbows. We became really good friends on the cruise ship. That week. As a matter of fact, they dedicated one of the shows to us.
Oh,
That
wow.
was really good. You know. Um, so Randy and Rainbows, they had a big hit in the early '60s called Denise, and they were our neighborhood heroes. I, as a kid, my sister Arlene was in their class in junior high school and also elementary school. They would, she would hear them. They were a doo-wop group. Hear them practicing in the schoolyard. And Rainy Rainbows, they were our local heroes in Maspeth, New York, Maspeth Queens. And then what happened was the Tokens produced them. So I had that in common with them because I knew about Rainy Rainbows and I knew about the Tokens. So we talked a lot about music. And then one day when I was doing massage therapy, it all comes together, just amazing how things happen. In walked a patient, I'm working on a patient, and we're talking, and he said he's from Maspeth. I said, oh, Maspeth. I used to live in Maspeth, and we're talking. He turned out to be the manager of Randy and the Rainbows back then. And he
Oh,
brought
wow.
me pictures of them back in the day. And, he had them autographed new pictures of them because they're still performing. And it's just funny how that all works out, you know?
Yeah, definitely. The phrase you used that you learned in the book, the law of attractions. So,
Law of attraction. It's just, I remember I had a chiropractor friend when I wanted to open up my own office. And I was successful right off the bat. And he used to say, "You're like Forrest Gump. You're always in the right place at the right time." All these different careers, and you always, well, no matter what you do, you become successful at it.
yeah.
And it's just, I seem to be at the right place at the right time. Even meeting Frank Scobletti, joining up with Parr at the right time,
Yeah.
and meeting him and becoming friends with him and Dominator and the guys. And then that was another path that I went on.
So
You
that's a
know,
really good segue into talking a little bit about craps. But before we get there, I want to go back. There's a couple of questions that have come in that I'm going to bring up for you real quick and put on the screen. The dice grinder, he's asking about your art. What kind of price range do you sell your art, and where can they find it?
okay, I have a I was exhibiting a lot in galleries, But over the last few years, I stopped pursuing the galleries because I got so involved in crafts and teaching crafts. So what I did was my son helped me. He put together a gallery for me, and it's online. It's called newmanfinearts.com, and I showcase a lot of my paintings there. I mean, I must have uh, I mean, it was clear. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's called newmanfinearts.com, and that's my little art gallery, on the web. And you can contact me there. And I also do custom paintings. Matter of fact, I know a lot of people want me to start painting pictures of Las Vegas, and I promised I would. But what happened was
I
someone
laugh.
saw my,
I want to laugh at that
so,
because Lou Louie's out there asking, "Have you
yeah,
started his Las Vegas picture yet?"
Lou Louie. Now I want to talk to Lou Louie because I want to find exactly what size he would like. I haven't started yet, but I want to know what size he wants, and that's like the first thing I need to know. What size canvas to buy. So and also if he has a photograph of Las Vegas that he would like me to paint, I could do that. Or I have lots of my own pictures. I love photography, so I have tons of pictures of Las Vegas
Hmm.
to paint from for ideas. Uh, but I'll get in touch with Lou Louie and we'll talk about that. But what happened was my son also got me involved in an art gallery called Saatchi Art, Saatchi. It's similar to my gallery, except it's an international gallery. And someone found my work of my brownstones. I do a lot of paintings of New York City scenes too, and also Monet type landscapes. That's my two specialties. I even dabbled in some pop art of rock and roll portraits. I started doing pictures of like Fabian and Frankie Avalon and Elvis and the Beatles, and I thought one day I'd have my own rock and roll art museum. I felt stuff in the beginning, but then that was just a dream. I have a few of those pictures up
Well,
also.
not only that, Debbie Reynolds. You did a portrait of Debbie
Debbie
Reynolds.
Reynolds. That was the first portrait I ever did in a large painting. That was my first portrait. I mean, I've drawn portraits, in pencil or charcoal or pastel, but I've never done an actual painting. Um, but when I was doing massage therapy, uh, this woman, Cindy Guerin, a really nice woman, was one of my patients, and she was a director of Bailey Concert Hall, and they had a lot of big acts come by there, and I got to meet them all. Everybody from Michael Feinstein to Al Martino and Debbie Reynolds, and anybody that was popular, I would get to meet. And she had me display this Debbie Reynolds. She had me display my paintings in the special banquet room where they would have a reception after the show. The celebrities would come back to this room, and there'd be drinks and food, and the people that bought the expensive tickets, the donors, the art donors would be invited, and I'd always be invited because it was my own art gallery there. Cindy says, "Why don't you paint a picture of Debbie Reynolds? She's coming to town, and you can present it to her." I said, "Okay." I've never done a portrait before like that, and I did a big one. It was like 24 by 36, and you know, and I did a painting of her, and then I went backstage. I got to meet her. We became friendly, and I gave it a painting, and she really liked it. And we became pals. It was very, very nice. Yeah, sad to see that she's gone now,
Yeah.
but she was very nice, very nice.
All right, we've got another question for you from Mark Wojulski, asking which Smokey and the Bandit were you in?
I was in probably the third one, the third, the third one, the second or third one, because I was doing all these movies back in the '80s. And
And
my daughter was born in 1984, So, that's when I left the business. But I was in a lot of movies, even had a bit part in, Scarface. You'll see a picture of me with Michelle Pfeiffer. And I'm dressed as an immigration officer. And that's Smokey the Bandit, yeah. And that's Junior, right? That played his son-in-law, right?
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason's son-in-law, yeah. And that's on the scene. But there's a picture of me and Michelle Pfeiffer. We became friendly, and she wasn't in the particular scene that I was in, Smokey and the Bandit. And Michelle Pfeiffer hung out between scenes, so that was pretty good. I played an immigration officer, and I'm wearing my little uniform. Yeah, I was cast a lot as police officers and kind of like tough guys. Even though my nature isn't tough, I guess I'm a pretty good actor to play that kind of part. Yeah,
All
acting
right.
to me was playing make believe. So I just went at it naturally. Took a few acting lessons, but to me it was just being a kid again and playing make believe, and I just loved it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch the old Smokey and the Bandit shows and see if I can
Sure.
spot you in the
Okay.
in the movie. All right, you ready to move on and talk a little bit about craps?
Sure, love it. That's one of my
Okay.
favorite pastimes.
Yeah.
I
So
love
so the
crap.
first story that I would kind of like for you to touch on is a fresh friend of mine, Russell. He was with you at a time that you were banned from a casino. Can you tell a little bit about
Yes.
that story without maybe mentioning too many details?
Yes. I don't want to mention the casino because I don't want to get banned anywhere else. But it's an off-strip casino. And what happened was I took my class there. I teach in Las Vegas. I teach in Florida. You can see my craps table behind me. That's my craps table from Atlantic City, a 12-foot table. And I have a table uh, from North Las Vegas in my house in Las Vegas. I actually live near the Strip on Flamingo Road.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so um, David, I forgot what the question was. Where are we?
Yeah, so
Tell me again.
the time that you
Oh,
were
man.
escorted
Oh,
out of
man.
a casino.
I try. I try not to remember that story. It was very uncomfortable. So I try to forget things sometimes. So anyway, so what happened was, okay. So I took my students. I had a few students in my class in Las Vegas. I do one-on-ones, but this time I had a few students in town. I did maybe two students one day, another student the next day, and maybe two students the next day. Sometimes there are two students at a time, three students. And I said, "Hey guys, let's go play together today. I didn't have a student. Let's go play." So we went over to this casino. I figured, let's get away from the strip. Let's go to a casino off the strip. So we go to the casino, and evidently the stick man, no, not stick man, the dealer, uh, I was shooting from straight out, says to me, "You're not going to like these tables anymore." And I'm thinking, well, why not? He says, well, they put a pad under it and they're bouncy now. So I'm thinking, okay, he must know who I am then. All right. So took the students there and we're having a good time. But I tried a shot from the end and he tipped me off that was bouncy. So I'm not going to do my regular on axis shot because the dice will bounce right off the table. So I did one of my specialty tosses. It's kind of like a rolling toss from the end, and it works really well on bouncy tables. All right, so I'm doing really great, and I'm hitting number after number, and then the pit boss looks at me and he says, "You got to get more air under those dice. I want them to bounce around, you know." All right, so I threw them higher, and of course it's sevened out. I lost control. No problem. And then my students tried the best they could. Some of them did pretty well. They adjusted and they know my specialty tosses I taught them. And they started doing pretty well. One guy hit the all small. We were all cheering him on, and he was doing very, very well. And uh, then I changed my position. So now I move to stick left in the hook, and I do this off-axis shot, which I call the split shot. And it's based on the old shot taught by Walt Diem and Jerry Patterson back in the early days. was the first off-axis shot that they taught called magic, dice magic. And they call it dice magic because the sevens seem to disappear. And it's a special shot where the dice land on the point. It's an all seven set. But if you throw the dice just right, when they land, they split out of the seven set onto box numbers, right? And if you throw it just right, you're going to hit hard ways too. So I'm in stick left, and because it's bouncy, I lowered my trajectory, and I kind of combined it with my on-axis par shot from stick left, along with this shot, kind of hybrid. And man, I was getting hot. I started hitting hard ways and making lots of numbers and numbers and numbers. Well, and another thing I was doing was I was also charting the table. I like to chart the table and look for trends. That's how I bet actually. I don't just do 44 inside or 66 inside or, just going inside or outside or across. I like to target numbers that I see are the most dominant numbers within the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 rolls, right? So I look at the dominant numbers, and sometimes I'll see a pattern of numbers pairing. I said, okay, I see a five and a five hit right after that. And right after that, I said, another shooter rolls a dice, a five, another five. So, okay, there's a pattern. I circle it on my chart. And next time a five rolls, I say, okay, this is on other shooters. Place the five and hop the five. And sure enough, the pairing pattern kept going. Another five rolled. I said, good, take it down. Next time a five rolled, I started upping my bets. Place it and hop it. Like I knew what the future was almost because it just was an anomaly of a pattern. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it happens. And if you catch it, you can make a lot of money. And I think I hit it 4 or 5 times in a row.
Hmm.
Whenever the five rolled, I hit that pattern. And then I had my big roll with the off-axis shot where they said nobody could beat their table because they padded them. And next thing you know, I see a flash coming from stick right and the hook. A flash. What the hell, a flash? And I see a guy there, a stranger. I don't know who the guy is. He's playing. And they maybe it reflected off of his phone. But what I really think it was, they were taking my picture. Because when I turn around, the casino manager says to me, Howard, can I have a word with you? So he goes, okay, what's the matter? He says, uh, you are no longer allowed to play in this casino. Take your chips and cash them out. And I said, well, can you tell me why? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not starting any trouble. I'm a gentleman. I'm hitting the wall every time, the back wall. He said he's going to say something, and then he says, he quote himself says, no, just cash out and leave the premises. And I did, and I questioned him again, and then the guy with the gun, the cop with the badge and guns, read me the no trespassing act. It's like, well, why are you doing that? I'm not a troublemaker. And I guess they just felt I was too dangerous because I could beat them. And so I cashed in my chips, and they circled me like I was, like Al Capone. My friend Coy and Dennis say, you look like Al Capone the way they're escorting you out the door, doing the perp walk out of the casino. It was crazy. And then I left, and I guess we'll never go back there again. And if I ever have a student, I'll recommend they never go to that casino again either, because
Well,
they sweat the money.
and
They
that's
don't
not
want
the
anybody
only
winning.
time you've been asked not to return to a casino. Uh, I can't remember if this is a story you wanted to talk about or not, but the ship out of Florida.
The ship out of Florida. Okay, so we have uh, back in the day we didn't have any casinos here in Florida. We had the dog track, the racetrack, highlight, and I don't play any of those. So I wanted to play craps. So I go on this ship called the Sea Escape, which was a day cruise. Go down to Port Everglades, and the ship would take. It was like an old Russian cruise ship, had Russian writing and everything. It's like an old time Russian cruise ship, and we'd go out like 3 miles into the Gulf Stream and float around, and they'd have the casino open. And I think it had to be about 3 miles before they could open the casino
Hmm.
into international waters. And you float around there for like 5 hours, and then they bring you back, you know. So there were a few ships. First was a sea Escape. Then Sun Cruise came out. We had Sun Cruise here. And then there was another ship called Saint Tropez. So I'm on the Saint Tropez. It's a really, a little nicer ship, and I'm on that ship, and the guy before me, I'm stick right doing my golden touch, my on axis shot, my par shot, right? And I'm really good at that shot. And the guy before me had a really good roll. And the pit boss, and I didn't know who he was, the pit boy, I guess it was a casino manager, he came up and he says, what's going on at this table? And the pit boss says, well, the guy just had a big roll. I guess they were sweating the money. They don't want to lose any money. And there were some big bettors on the table. Well, unfortunately, the dice come to me next. And now the manager's watching. So I'm doing my pendulum swing shot, on axis shot, Golden Touch is famous for, and, par, you know. I'm doing my shot from stick right because I'm left-handed. And I see Michael Philbin saying hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Michael. But let me get back to my story before I get distracted. So what happened was, so I'm throwing a dice and I hit it was a hard eight. And pit boss is watching me and everybody's betting the hard ways, right? And he's kind of like starts mimicking my pendulum swing, not making fun of it, but kind of mimicking. He'd never seen that before. And then he says, I want you to throw the dice harder and hit that wall hard. All right. So I throw the dice a little harder, but I'm still staying on axis. And I hit another hard eight. And with that, he comes around to the table mad. He holds out his hands. He says, give me those dice. You're done here. So oh, crap. So we can't play there anymore. So I get off the table. And then when I'm back in my massage therapy office, I talk to the patients as I'm working on for an hour. We talk. And this guy's a cop, and he says to me, police officer, he says to me, that ship is run by the mob. I don't think you should go back there anymore as a controlled shooter, which I never did because you never know, right? They may want to break my hands or something in the parking garage. Who knows, right? So I don't want to. So that ship eventually went out of business. They were sweating the money. It was no good.
So let's come over and take some of the comments from the people here. Dice Grinders, he's been waiting on this one for a little while. When you practice, do you practice with different tosses and grips? And if so, which is your favorite? What do you go to most of the time?
Okay. I have a few different tosses that I do. Some of them I invented, other ones I was actually trained in because I was trained, with par, with Chris Polecki, which is the on-axis shot that everybody does. That's a shot Golden Touch teaches. Heavy does a par, not par, he doesn't like the word par, but Heavy does the on-axis shot. My friend Dice Hilch does the on-axis shot. That's a traditional shot that everybody's doing. But then when I left Golden Touch, I went back to the par organization with Jerry Patterson. And at that time, Walt Diem was teaching off-axis. They were teaching on-axis, but they also were experimenting with off-axis shots. And that shot was called Dice Magic, which I changed a little bit to a split shot because I made some adjustments on it. And I can shoot it from, it's like my utility shot. I can shoot from any position. So I like that shot a lot. I had a 72 hand roll with that in Biloxi a couple of years ago. Using
Well,
that
as a matter of fact, we have somebody I think that might have witnessed that. Let me pull up that comment real quick. Give me 1 second here. Bobby Bones.
Bobby Bones.
Yesterday.
He lives in Biloxi, Treasure Bay Casino, 70 plus hand. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had a gigantic roll there. I don't know how long it lasted. It might have been like 2 hours. I don't know. It was a gigantic roll. Now, what I did with that shot, it was my split shot from stick left. Feels like stick left number 2 near the hook. So I'm, it's 2.5. And I like that because I'm tall and I can really extend my arm out. And I throw the dice on the all 7 set. I get the dice to split when they land. So they hit box numbers. And I hit the dice. I had the dice land in the same spot I mean, I used to be a pitcher, so I have really good aim. I could hit a little dot on that table with both dice. So I sit in the same spot over and over and over again, and I kept getting box number, box number, box number. There's no stopping me. When I get in a groove like that, there's no stopping me. And I had students and friends with me, you know, and they all made a lot of money. My friend Ronnie from Biloxi, he was on it. He made, I don't know how much money. He made a fortune, but he says his brother-in-law was there and made like $20,000 on my roll,
Wow.
you know, betting really big. But sometimes that happens, you know, I get in a groove, and if I keep hitting the same spot over and over again, the same shot, I'm going to have one of these big, big rolls.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of come back to what Dice Grinder was asking.
Oh,
So you
okay.
do different, you do know different grips and tosses, and you teach different
Yes,
grips and tosses. But do you
yes.
have one that you prefer? What is your go-to set or a go-to
I guess,
grip?
I guess the first shot I would do was the on-axis par shot. I train myself to do it from every position. My number one position, stick right. I can do it from stick left really, really well. I could actually throw it into the corner, into the hook. I have some great rolls. I went on a cruise once. I had a 50 number roll with the on axis shot into the hook. I mean, just do it perfectly there. I could shoot it from the end. I have big rolls from the end with that shot. And that's my on axis shot. My other favorite shot is a split shot, and I can do that from every position also. Stick left is my number one position. Straight out is my second favorite. And from stick right, I do it in, I call it a reverse magic shot.
Hmm.
And I had a really good roll, about 30 number roll with that shot in reverse in Biloxi recently on that glass table, you know,
Oh,
which is a little tricky, but the shot
yeah.
worked
We're going to
anyway.
come back to that question. I didn't know you actually played on the glass table, so we'll come back to that in a few minutes. But you mentioned something that I also wanted to bring up. I took a class with you. I think it's been 3 years now, maybe even 4 years ago. And one of the things that I remember is you took a little yellow corner, just a little bitty piece of paper and some tape, and you put it down there as the landing zone. You know, where some of the other instructors they've got, here's your landing zone this big. No, yours was this big. This is what you wanted me to get good at. Hit that, and then you know that you're good. So,
Well, let me tell you that. You hear about that a little bit?
yeah.
How I got involved in that? Okay. Well, first, another one of my favorite shots before I get into that is my ice tongue shot. I love the ice tongue shot. It's on axis, and I used that. My last trip in Biloxi was 2 weeks ago. It'll probably be my next newsletter. That story, and man, I was so consistent with that shot, the ice tongue shot, where I was using a 2-4-4-2 set, and I was throwing the ice tongue perfectly, like dice are glued together, from stick left straight ahead, landing about just like the on axis shot, except no spin. You know, it was a dead cat thing in front of the wall, and they hit the wall every time. But I was so accurate with that shot. Every time I got the dice, every roll's in the 20s or 30s, every single time.
Hmm.
Uh, and I love the ice tongue shot too. That's one of my newest shots. But getting back to the little speck, when I was being trained, when I trained myself and went sharpshooting and everything, I would put a little piece of paper, I mean, a little tiny speck, and I would hit that spot over muscle memory, over and over and over again when I practiced, right? I got so accurate that when I went to casinos with my Golden Touch friends, uh, I would either plant a little speck of dust uh, where I wanted to land the dice about 4 inches from the wall in that spot, or one of my friends, instructors, would plan something over there. So I'd have something to aim for,
Hmm.
and I would hit it every time. And then one time I got banned from Bally's, not banned, but they wouldn't let me play there. I guess it is. Well, anyway, so what happened at Bally's was I was playing there with Frank and Dom and the guys, and we were having some good rolls, you know, all of us. But I remember Dom and Frank, they didn't like if I'd ask somebody to move their chip. I mean, I drove them crazy because I'm thinking I'm so trained to hit a spot. If someone chipping is in my way, well, it's going to be a little more difficult to change that muscle memory, and I don't want to change the muscle memory. I'm throwing strikes. Why am I going to throw the dice in a different spot? I'm throwing straight down. I don't want to throw them on an angle. So I remember there was a guy there. He had his chip, $5 chip, a $10 chip, what it was, two fives, and he had odds behind it, right? And the odds were exactly where I liked to land the dice. But because Frank and Dama with me, I couldn't tell the guy to move his chip. I would do that when I wasn't with them because I knew it would drive them crazy. So I stopped doing that. So I didn't say a word. But when I threw the dice, my dice would hit flat on his odds bet every single roll, every shot. And I probably threw the dice 30, 40 times, who knows how much, and it kept hitting his chip. And he wouldn't move it, and I was trying to throw it over the chip, but I couldn't. My muscle memory was so exact from all this practice, I just kept it landing flat right on that chip every time. And then next time I came to that casino, the pit boss says to me, "Hey Howard, they took a nice picture of you. Look what's on the computer." And it's a picture from surveillance of me throwing the dice.
Yeah, but if it's
And
hitting the
then,
chip over and
yeah,
over and over, how can they think it's a controlled shot?
well, they hit the same spot every single time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? Yeah.
All right, let's go back to some of the questions. They're starting to pile up here. Lenny Thomas is wanting to know Frank Scabletti is credited with starting Dice Control Revolution. He wrote extensively about the captain and the crew. Did you ever play with them? And I'm going to assume he's saying the captain. Have you ever played with the captain?
Okay, that's a good question. So Frank and I were really good friends, you know, back in the day. We'd go on vacations together, and I became really good friends with the beautiful AP, and and he was a good guy, and we became really good friends. I became friends with his friends, Henry Tim Buren, the Blackjack Writer, and the Frugal Gambler, Gene Scott, all these different writers. I became friends with, and John Gorowski in Chicago. We had dinner together. So Frank and I and his wife, we would tour Memphis together, and we would tour Chicago together. We had really good friends. I missed that friendship. But what happened was, I forgot what your question was, Dave. I got off on a
Yeah,
tangent.
did you ever get to play with Frank Scabletti, the captain,
Oh, the
and
cap. The honest answer is no. Frank said that our group, the Golden Touch group, he was like the captain and we were like the crew. That was like his new group that we would all play together. We loved playing together, all those years. But they came before Golden Touch, the captain and the crew. But I did meet one of the crew members, right? He went by the name of Satch, and his name is Dave, and and we're still friends on Facebook. He's a real good guy, Dave. Retired police officer from New Jersey, very, very nice. And he was, Frank said he was a barnacle. He was one of the crew, one of the younger members back then. But I never met the captain and I never met the crew. Now, I remember one dinner, Frank shows an old black and white photograph. And he says, the captain's in this picture. But he never revealed who it actually was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, let's come back to some of the other questions that we have out there. Kevin M. is more of a statement here saying Howard spends several weeks at a time in Vegas. Hit him up for a tune-up on his craps table and condo, and he'll hit the casino with you afterwards. He also holds classes in AC and Biloxi. Now, we're gonna talk about that here towards the end about all the different places that you teach at. But you've got a cheerleader out there. Kevin M.'s trying to promote you.
Kevin M. is a great guy. He also goes by the name of Banker Dude. He's a really great. Yeah, everybody knows him. He's a great.
I'm sorry
shooter.
that my pictures are not working because we've got some pictures out there. Banker Dude, I'm sorry that
he's in there. Yeah. He's a great guy. He's taken my class, and he's a really good guy. And we always play together. Whenever we're together, we always play together. And he's a great shooter, especially from the end. He has a really good end shot. Very, very good. And He's a really good person and a very good friend. Very good.
Yeah.
We always go.
Look,
We always go on these craft cruises together. We always have
he
a good time.
he's got a question for you also. It says, walking up to a table, how much time does it take for you to get into the zone when shooting the dice? And does it matter if the table's full? What's an ideal table that you're looking for? What conditions do you look for?
Okay. I'm a little different because I believe in energy. Being a massage therapist, I believe in healing energy and energy. So if I walk into a casino and I see it's a dead table, nobody is doing anything. It's just dead.
Mm,
I probably don't want to play in that table. Um, if the table is empty or okay, I really want to shoot, I'm going to tiptoe in until I get a feel for the bounce of the table and which one of my shots is working the best. And once I figure that out, then I'm set. And I write on my chart the table I played on, the casino I played in, and what shot I used, and what worked and what didn't work. So I know next time I go there exactly what to do.
gotcha.
So see, I kind of have an advantage. I have the guys that just have one shot because if that shot is off and just not working that day, or something's wrong with the table's bouncy or whatever, they don't have anything to fall back on. They just can't get it going. Where if I'm in a casino and if I see, well, this shot's just not working, well, I got the ice tongue shot, I got the split shot, I got my corner shot, I have my underhand rolling shot, and I trained myself to shoot from every position. So I could play in any table in any position and do okay.
Gotcha. Okay. So, really quick, I want to give a shout out to Greg Stroud. Super chat from Greg. Diane and account Howard is a great friend and mentor. And Dave used this as an appropriate bet. Keep these interviews coming and custom sets. Okay. Greg, thank you. Thank you very much, man. We do really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Greg's a good guy. We cruised together. That's how we met, and he came over for a class. Sometimes people stop off on the way to the cruise ship for a class because
Yeah.
I'm right here in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
A day before, or even on the way down to the port, and we have a good time.
So, really quick, I'd like to remind everybody, hey, this is your opportunity to ask Howard questions, either stories that you might have heard, or maybe you want a little bit of advice from somebody on your dice game. This is your opportunity. I've got a couple of questions queued up, so we're going to go over to those real quick. But if you have a question, put it down there in the chat. All right, so the next one coming in is from Senior Moo. Uh, Senior Moo's out there watching us tonight. Do you announce when you are going somewhere, or do we need a secret combination to decipher a coded message?
Um, well, I usually write my trip reports after I'm somewhere because if I announce where I'm going to be, everybody wants to play with me. And although I love being with people, uh, then it's hard to get on a table. Sometimes I really want to play in this casino, but if I'm with, five, six guys, there's only like three spots open. Well, what am I going to do? I don't want to be rude. And so I usually just end up going somewhere else with them, you know? So I don't want to announce where I am at that time unless, like, for example, I'm going to be in Las Vegas at the end of May. I wasn't going to even go to Vegas for a while, but believe it or not, I've had, I think I'm up to six students already without even advertising that signed up for classes already.
Mm,
One-on-one private classes. Some of them full day classes, some of them half day classes, some of them just 2 hour tune-up classes. And I will play with them. Um, and so I'm going out to Vegas in late May already. And I say, well, I'm out there already. Might as well stay for the whole month of June. I'm out there already, and I have a condo there. So I already have six people signed up, which I love, but I really don't want people just coming to play with me, especially if they want to play with me. I prefer they come for a little class, even a little minimal 2 hour class, or if they want more instruction, longer, because I have so much to teach, and then I'll play with them afterwards. Because I don't want to be used like, just people call me up all day and all night. Howard, where are you? Let's play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like it to come over for class first.
All right, we've got a couple of other questions starting to come in. Really quick, Michael Feldman, thank you for your super chat. We really do appreciate it. And Michael, you're a great guy. And um, uh,
Michael, can I say something about
yeah,
Michael?
yeah, go right ahead.
He's a great guy and also a great casino host.
Yeah, he
So
is. He is my personal host that I use whenever I'm trying to go to a
yeah,
Vegas or the
and
big places.
he's a personal friend of mine, and we always have a good time when we get together.
Okay, so the next question comes from the Hawaiian Crapshooters. Howard, have you ever gotten into a shooting slump where you experienced short rolls for a period?
Yes, it's kind of like in baseball. A batter could be a great hitter, and all of a sudden it's like, geez, not getting any hits. I've had that happen to me. Yes, I think everybody's had that. And if I have a day where I'm struggling, I have a, first of all, you have to have a, I play professionally, so you have to have a stop loss, or else you're going to go broke. So I have a stop loss. I buy in usually for $1,000, but if I'm struggling that day, or maybe my discipline isn't there and I'm betting on other shooters, or my shot's a little bit off, I'll, if I lose 300 of that, a third, I walk. That's
Yeah,
it. Because I know the next session, I'll make it back. You don't want to dig a hole for yourself. I'll
yep.
make it back. And I always do. And if it's just not happening that day, I'm just not feeling it, I'll take a day off. And that's another reason why I like to go to Vegas, not just for a fast weekend like I used to do, because then you want to play all the time. Like right now, I go to Biloxi, right? I've been to Biloxi twice the last month. And I want, I'm only there for 3 days, 4 days. So I want to play all the time, because when I come back to Florida, I can't play. Not yet, hopefully soon.
When is Florida supposed to vote on that?
This week,
Oh,
this week or
wow.
next week.
Wow, so you'll know pretty
Yeah,
quick.
we'll know. The governor wants it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. They have to make a deal with the Seminoles. We'll see what
Okay.
happens. But that's why I like staying longer, so I don't feel pressure like I have to play. If I'm a little bit off, I'll take the day off. The next day, I'll come back feeling positive and feeling good, and I'm ready to go.
So I hope my wife is still watching the show right now and hearing that advice. Go to Vegas for longer periods of time and just have a little bit more
Yes.
downtime. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can take your time. You don't have to play every second.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna shoot through a couple of others really quick. My friend Bird Dog out there, he said his wife just pulled up your artwork and it's amazing. So my friend Bird
Uh,
Dog out there loves your art.
Thank you,
Uh,
Bird. Okay, I appreciate that. Did I tell you that what I've been busy painting is someone saw my art gallery. Remember I was telling you about the art gallery? I never finished that story. Uh, this guy from New York loves my brownstones, and he commissioned me to do a painting of brownstones, custom painting for him. And he says if he likes, he's going to order a second one. So that's really good. I enjoy doing that.
good deal. Yeah. All right. So the next question, or actually a comment again from Greg Howard. He's still using the chart you gave him at the Fort Lauderdale lesson. The Carnival Pit crews call him the charter and always ask if he needs. I'm sorry, it went way too fast. Oh, even the crew knows that Greg is a charter, so they'll have pins ready for him if he needs it. That's great.
Yeah, most people don't chart because it's a random game, right?
Yeah,
What's the sense of charting?
yeah,
But there are trends, and why not play? I never buck the trend. Why not play with the trend? Because I'm actually, believe it or not, being the bubble machine here in Fort Lauderdale. I shouldn't say that, but we have the bubble machine here, and I'm charting and playing the trend. And when I see the trend is on the don't side, where the last two rolls with short rolls, numbers not repeating, and 7 out short rolls, I go on the don't side, and I'm beating them. I'm winning that way. And
yeah.
if the numbers are coming, I'll only bet the numbers that I see rolling within the last 6 to 8 rolls, a few hits, and take them down. And that's how I'm winning.
Nice, very nice. Will
Yeah.
Smith is out there. He says he wouldn't mind going to a class in June with the crew. And you can't see them yet, Howard, but there's several comments about when you're going to be in Vegas. And we're going to come up to some of these here in just a few minutes. But before we get there, Tyler is wanting to know, do you track your rolls with something like Bone Tracker?
No, no. Um,
No.
Now, Bone Tracker, from what I understand, is very, very good. My friend Kevin, his name is the Wizard. He, someone just, I think they're watching the show, and they just sent me a
You need to
text.
give a live shout out to somebody from the text
Yeah,
message.
uh, yeah. I think there's Lloyd and Seth. They're watching it, from
Nice.
Pennsylvania. Yeah. So anyway, what I, so we're talking about what charting? Is that what we're talking about? What was it? What was
Yeah,
your
well, if
last
you
thing?
use Bone Tracker, so you have a
A bone
Kevin,
track.
your friend
All
Kevin.
right, Kevin. Not the Bankadude Kevin, but there's another Kevin, and I have a friend in Texas named Kevin. But a lot of Kevins. But his name is Kevin. He goes by name of the Wizard. He lives in Palm Beach. He's very good at math and numbers, and he uses Bone Tracker. And Heavy uses Bone Tracker, and so does a Bankadude might use it, and 22 Inside uses it, and Nate uses it. They like it. My friend Doug, he goes by name of Coaster.
Hmm.
He doesn't do Bone Tracker, but he's a math teacher, retired math teacher. So he's really into numbers. But me personally, I'm an artist. So math and numbers are not my strong point. So with me, it's kind of like trial and error. So I take a legal pad and I try different sets and I do my shots. And if I could see, I could have a steady SRR of of 15 to 20 and 20 plus rolls consistently, then I know that's a good set for me to use for that shot,
Gotcha.
especially if I could hit the 20s all the time. And
Okay.
I'm sure Bone Track would probably tell the same thing in a shorter period of time. But I'm not that great on computers to log in everything. So when you had that show, you know, about Bone Tracker, right? Maybe you had that show on, right?
Hmm.
With my
With
friend
Nate.
22 Inside
Yeah.
and Nate, yeah. As an artist, I'm looking at those charts, and all I see are pretty colors. I don't even know what the numbers are talking about. I see the chart and I say, man, those are those are pretty, it's like an abstract painting. Those are nice colors. But I know that people are into math. They like Bone Tracker. It seems to work. It helps tell you what set is best for your shot. I think you have to throw the dice 700 times and submit
Yeah.
the rolls.
So I'm
You
going to
know,
jump in here really quick with the new Bone Tracker. I haven't heard exactly when the release date's going to be, but I did work with Mark Evangelisto. He talked a little bit about it, and then Darth Nader, he was on here talking about Bone Tracker as well. And what I have seen with the new Bone Tracker is the color coding actually simplifies things. It didn't translate very well on the video. You couldn't really see what it was doing, but the color
the
coding
colors,
groups sets of data that you can
yeah.
analyze just a little bit better than the old version did. So that's going to be something I think everybody's going to be interested in when it does finally hit the shelves, basically. All right, I'm going to come over to. We are starting to get quite a few questions, so I'm going to ask you to try to answer some of these quickly. Let's go to Kalen 808. What's more important, the grip or the landing?
Everything starts with the grip. We're talking about the on axis. Well, everything is the grip. You have to get a good grip. My favorite, of course, is the three finger grip in the front, where your fingers are lined straight across,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to have any spaces, any splay between the dice. So it's kind of like the dice are glued together. And when you release them, let them roll off your fingers naturally, and you want the dice to stay in the air, rotating backwards, like they're glued together.
So
That's the whole.
the question here is one more important than the others, the grip or the landing zone? You see these
They're
rhythm rollers that can hit a landing zone fairly well, but they don't necessarily set or they don't have a
That's
repetitive
true.
grip.
It's very important to hit the same spot every time,
Okay.
to
Okay.
have consistent rolls. Now, there are people that don't set the dice, but if they could hit the same spot every time, they tend to have long rolls.
Yeah.
But if
Okay.
you can do
And
both, grip them, set them, and hit the same spot, then I think that's the key
yeah.
for consistency.
So Charles Bibler, good to see you, Howard. Sammy told him that you were on tonight, so I'm assuming you know these Charles
Yes.
and Sammy. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Very, very nice. Yes.
Now, this next question you might want to spend a few minutes on. My friend DJB Thunder, um, do you use Dr. Zito's Z shot? And specifically, he's asking about Z2. And I believe there's four different shots, and I couldn't tell you
Yes.
what Z1, Z2, Z3 is. But
I'll
what
tell
do
you
you?
about that. You have that picture of Dr. Z?
I do.
Because
I'll find it while you're talking about it.
he's wearing a pink shirt. He's with Coy,
Yep.
my friend
Yep.
Coy. Yeah, because Dr. Z, we became really good friends. When I got back with Jerry Patterson, um, I learned the magic shot, and then I heard that there was a class going on with Dr. Z and Little Joe, and Jerry says to me, Howard, why don't you take those classes so you'll learn some of these new shots? Because all I knew was pretty much the par shot, which is the golden touch shot, the on axis shot. So Walt showed me the magic shot. I learned that one, and so did my friend Coy and my friend Joe Slots. We all learned, we practiced that shot. So I knew that one real well. And then Dr. Z and Little Joe, they were having a class in Las Vegas, and I called. There he is. There's Dr. Z. He's the guy and the fellow in the pink shirt with the beard. A really nice man, also a math professor at a university. So Dr. Z, he was part of the Jerry Patterson network, and he took the magic class. And then he told me he had a dream. We became really friendly. And he caught me. He says, Howard, I'm not charging you for this class because, you're pretty famous. Everybody knows you. And come take the class. And that's where I met Dr. Z, and I met the Little Joe instructors, at that class. And we all became really good friends. Anyway, Dr. Z showed me the shots. He had the Z1 shot, which are the dice together, and they're actually off-axis shots. All the Z shots are off-axis shots, where he figured out how to throw the dice differently than the magic shot, but yet when you threw them with the 7-set, they would split onto box numbers. And you wouldn't get any heat because the casinos, all they knew was the par and golden touch shot. So we didn't get any heat with these other shots. So Dr. Z did the Z1 shot. Then he told me he had a dream about the Z2. And what that was, I guess he was subconscious, was thinking, how can he hold the dice in a natural way? Actually, it's not really natural, but it's kind of a weird way. Hold the dice where they're on two different planes, an all 7-set on two different planes. So when you throw the dice softly and the back die hits on the point, it splits them out of the 7-set onto the box numbers. And now it's a Z2 shot where the dice are on different planes. And I don't know if you can see this in the camera. Let's see.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, we can see it.
So let's say I'm not gonna set the dice. Let's say it's all 7 sets.
A little bit higher. There you go.
If the dice are like this, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Here they are together. But then if you turn one like that, when they land, it's not a good example. If anybody comes to my house in Vegas or Florida, I'll teach it to you. But anyway, the way it was, he came up with a grip where he held the dice on different planes, one flat and one on the point. And when he landed the dice on the back point, the dice would split onto box numbers. Now the Z2. Now the Z3, I don't know I know he came out with a dart shot from straight out. And then he also had a shot called the Z4, which was a magical shot. He showed it to me, and I still can't figure. It's like a magic. It was like a magician. He would set the dice on the all 7 set, tap them twice, right, and then he would take his hands. They were horizontal, and then he would have them go. No, they were vertical, and then he'd have them go horizontal, like in an ice time grip, and the dice would fly, and then they would bounce. They would land on the points and cross each other. And it was an all 7 set. He kept hitting box number after box number after box number. It was just the most amazing shot. And that was a Z4. And I don't
Okay.
know anybody that can actually do that shot.
Okay. All right.
But
So,
I sometimes use Dr. Z shots, by the way. I
so
sometimes do use them.
we do have maybe 20 questions out here, so I'm going to try to go through some of these fairly quickly. Robert Barnes, thank you for the super chat, and he would like to know: do you ever play any other table games or machines?
Well, I play the, I do play the, I do play the plexiglass tables. You know, it's craps, but it's kind of a weird craps because it's all computers. You
Mm,
know that they have in some of the casinos. Biloxi has two of them. I think Vegas has one in Harrah's. The plexiglass tables. And by the way, I'm teaching a class with Heavy in July where I'll be teaching tosses that do well on that type of table, as
okay.
well as tosses that could beat the plexiglass. A lot of people are afraid to play in Vegas with plexiglass. I have shots that'll work with the plexiglass.
So you're talking about two different things here, right? So you're talking about those new electronic tables with the glass
Yeah.
surface, and you're also talking about
Yes.
plexiglass where the
Yes.
dividers.
Yeah. The
So
class
you
I'm teaching in July with Heavy in Biloxi, we're gonna teach the shots to beat those tables.
okay?
Of course,
Okay.
in June and on the one-on-ones, I'll show you those also.
So next, I'm going to go over to my friend Rick from the YouTube channel Let It Roll. He's got a couple of questions out here, and he's a good friend of mine. He says, "Dave, my money will be better spent taking his class in June instead of gambling. Is he in town? We will be there." Yes, Rick. Yes, he will be there while we are there. So uh, we'll go
Yes,
over the dates here soon. But Rick and I are planning on being out there the week of roughly the week of June 14th.
I'll be
14th to
there.
18th. Yep, you'll be there.
Okay.
So Rick, yeah,
Yes.
we'll have to coordinate something for you. Definitely worth your time. And
Oh yeah.
I think he also said, oh, and he said after that maybe you'll come play with us in Colorado. So
I've never been to Colorado, but I've
y-
always wanted to.
yeah, you really do.
Probably
Colorado
Bobby do
recently
that here.
voted.
I'll come.
I was going to say
I would
Colorado
love it.
recent. Colorado recently voted, and they're increasing their table limits. It used to be $100 max, so they didn't attract many people from the outside. Uh, but now that they are going to be raising those limits here in May, it might be worth a trip for you, Howard. And I think you would really enjoy it up there in the Rocky Mountains.
Well, not only would I enjoy the casinos, I would enjoy the scenery
Yeah.
because I love nature. Being brought up in the city, I love nature. I love being up in the country.
Okay. Dice Grinders wanting to know: do you play all the sports or just specific sports you like?
Um,
I'm guessing he's asking about betting on the
no, no, no,
sports.
no. He's talking about spots. Spots.
Oh, spots. Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, but by the way, to answer the other question, if I play any other games, I know if I'm on my tangents. I do play some blackjack and I do play some roulette. Those are two other games I play.
Okay.
But craps is
Um,
my favorite.
no, we were talking about Mark Evangelisto and Darth Nader out there. He's just saying that the new Bone Tracker is still a couple of months out. They're still working on it, but as soon as it's ready, we will make an announcement here and make sure that everybody knows where they can go and get it. So Mark, thank you for that
Sounds
update. We
good.
really appreciate it. Uh,
Sounds good. So I'm hearing very good things about it.
yeah,
By the way, the spots. Remember the question? Hold on, you're going too fast. The question about the spots. What was the question again? Do I play all spots?
yeah. Do you
I
play
think
all
that
the
was the
different
question.
spots?
I mean, on the craps table, yes, yes, yes. So for example, stick right number one is one of my favorites. Stick right two is okay. Um, on stick left, I could play every position. Stick one, I have one shot. I have a few shots. I can do my corner shot, my regular on axis shot straight down. I could do my split shot, and I could do my Yuri shot, my Yuri low rolling shot.
Hmm.
And from straight out, I have about four different shots. I could do my split shot, my high on axis shot, um, my low rolling shot I like, where I've had some really big rolls, and my low Yuri shot. I
So
could. Oh, I
I'm
want
gonna
to tell you.
interject a question really quick. It's related to that one. Talking about using the all seven set into the hook. Are you trying to do it? You're trying to do an off-axis shot there, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't even throw the all seven set into the hook. It's actually an on-axis shot. So what I do is it depends. If I'm playing on that glass table, right? I'll throw the dice. I call it the Yuri shot, which is on axis, and I'll throw them with a lot of backspin and kind of low. But the trick is to throw the dice right into the center of the hook. There's like a pocket there. Land the dice right in the pocket there. You don't want
Okay.
them splattering or hitting the sides. If I'm on a regular craps table, I'll throw the dice very softly into the pocket. They'll hit the back wall because I don't want to, I want to make it honest and hit the back wall every time. But you throw them softly so you don't bounce all over the place. They kind of stay in the pocket. The off-axis shots I usually do from I land the dice in the middle of the table. The middle of the back wall is where I
Okay.
usually throw my off-axis shots.
You made me think of something. With these electronic tables, with the surface, with that glass surface, I wonder
Yeah.
if they all react the same way. I'm wondering if there's no variance in the bounce between the different tables, like there are with the standard table we have today.
I've played on three of them so far. They all seem the same to me.
Yeah. So that
I've
might
looked.
be that might actually work to our advantage at some
Yeah,
point. That if the
yeah,
surface is the same,
right. The
we might be
surface is
able
the
to
same,
exploit that.
and there's no chips in your way,
Yeah,
and people
that's
aren't buying in the middle of the roll because there's no money exchange.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
it just takes a little getting used to laying the dice on glass. It's
right.
plexiglass, and I heard that they wax it, so you don't want the dice sliding. You want them to hit nice and bounce. Um, it's a little tricky.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. Okay, let's
Sure,
come back
sure.
over to the comments real quick. Let roll saying he would be your tour guide if you came to Colorado.
That'd
Um,
be cool.
let's see here. Robert Barnes is wanting to know, will you be there over Memorial Day weekend? And I can bring it
Yes.
up really quick. So you're going to be in Las Vegas May 29th through June 25th. And like you said, you've already got several people doing sessions. So if you're interested in
Yeah.
taking a class with Howard while in Las Vegas, it's best to get in early. His email is listed here at howardrocknroller at gmail.com. Uh, you can email him there. That's probably the best way to get hold of him. If you have any troubles, get in touch with me. I can always get you together. And then you're also going to be back to Biloxi with Heavy and Howard from July
Yes.
23rd through 25th. So that's a joint class that you're going to do with Howard. Plus,
Yeah.
you also do private one-on-one classes at your craps pit in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So there's many different ways, depending on where you're at, that you can actually take a class with Howard. Uh, so
Yeah. And
I
then with
can't
my
stress it.
craps table
I
and
was
the
going to say I
picture with
can't
my
stress it
picture.
enough that they need to contact you sooner rather than later, because most of us when we go to
Yeah.
Vegas we're only going to be there for the weekend or 3 or 4 days, and where you're
Yeah,
there for
because
the
I'm
full month, the spots will
I'm
fill
getting
up. So
booked up.
go
I'm
ahead.
getting booked up pretty fast. So the reason why I'm coming out so early, I was going to come out in June, possibly, because I want to see my son, for Father's Day. He lives in Arizona, um, and his birthday is also around that time. But I got a phone call from a gentleman, and he asked if I'd come in to do a class with him. He offered me money for a full day class in advance. Sent me money for it in a full day class to come in on the teacher class on 27th of May. So I said, well, it's a little early than I thought, but okay, I'll do it. And since then, I've gotten someone on the 20. I'm coming now the 25th because I, I need a little time to adjust to the time. If I have somebody on the 26th now, I have somebody on. I already have like six students lined up in a row.
Mm,
In early June. It's just amazing. But I love to teach, and it makes you feel good. People want my knowledge and technique, and I can share it with them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I do like yeah. So if anybody wants a class with me, please let me know so I can put you in the calendar. You can either pay in advance, on PayPal, or you could pay me when we're there, in the class. Just, you just pay me when we're there. That'd be okay too, or on PayPal
Well,
in advance.
and then I do know somebody's asking. Here we go. How much is the class? And that's something that you probably need to go to the website, and it depends on what you're looking for. There's several different price points, several different options
Yeah,
that people
it's
can choose.
it's
Um,
um it's very, go on Howard Rock-n-Roller. Oh, well, hold
well,
on.
let's.
It's up to the person. Whatever they would like, I will teach them. I have a lot of different throws to teach, plus the basic, on axis shots, the first one I teach. And then I'd be happy to teach other ones as well if they already know that shot.
Okay,
And then I'll
so
play with the students.
yep. So East Coast Craps, he's got a couple of questions out there. Have you heard from Coal Miner H4? And then he has also another one. Have you heard? Have you talked to Boris H4 lately? I'm not sure what H4 is. I'm hoping you know that.
I'm not sure what H4 means, but coal miner is Boris.
Oh, so he just
And
asked the same question twice. I gotcha. Okay.
Boris is coming out to Vegas to join me during the second week of Vegas when I'm out
Nice.
there in June. He'll be out there with me June 6th through, I guess, June maybe the 11th, and we'll be playing together a lot. So if
Yeah.
anybody would
So
like to come to class that time and join us, you can be part of our crew.
I uh, I actually got to play with Boris and Coy
Oh,
while I was there with you. So that was.
yes.
I'm glad to hear he's going to be back.
I have a good crew of local friends that live out there. I got Vegas Dice Controller and his a girlfriend Yuri. I play with them a lot. I play with my friend Dennis and Bill. Uh, Bill. I don't want to give up last names.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, who else? Coy, my friend Aloha Johnny, and I used to have a lot. My friend Tony. Um, he lives out there, and we play a lot together, and they're all good friends, that I've known for a long, long time. So that's my group that I like to
Okay.
play with.
He said
But of course,
East Coast. He came back and said H4 is hard four.
oh, that's Boris. Yeah,
Uh, that's
and
also
if
Boris.
if, if anybody comes out when I'm out there and we do a class together, I don't want to just like don't call me up. Hey, Howard, I want to play today. Unless you take my class. Otherwise I'll be busy every day playing and not teaching. You
Right.
know, so if they come out and take my class, well, even if it's a 2 hour class, or if they want to do a 4 hour or 8 hours, that's okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes the 8 hours might be too long. I'll charge the same amount and split up into 2 different days. We can do 4 hours and 4 hours. I won't charge extra.
Yeah.
Um, but afterwards or the day after, we will play with my friends. If my friends are available, they'll be one of our crew, and it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Because we have other good shooters to play with.
So we've got four questions left. Biff Helms, Roll to Win, Mike Benton, Mark Fernandez. I'll be getting to yours here quickly. Let's start with Biff Helms. He's asking, what are your favorite Las Vegas casinos? Where do you like to play?
Well, I like to play. I do like to play because it's right near my house. I like the Gold Strike and the Orleans. I like the Gold Strike tables, the Gold Coast. I'm sorry, the Gold Coast. I like their tables better than the Orleans, but I do like both places. The Orleans are a little bouncy. The Gold Coast are harder tables, so I do like that better. But unfortunately, they have all this plexiglass right now in those two casinos, the Boyd properties. So I may avoid them this trip if they have. But by June, maybe they'll take it down. It's one thing to play with plexiglass when it's just a divider between each player. But when they have it right in front of your face and like a little slot of 6 inches to stick your hand out on the bottom, like going to a bank teller. How are you going to throw the dice that way? So
Yeah.
I'll avoid that if they have that in those casinos. Um, as far as I do like Caesar's properties a lot. So I like Bally's, I like Paris, I like the Cromwell, I like Harrah's. Uh, so I do like those properties, and I like some of the MGM properties. I'll play sometimes over at the Excalibur and the Luxor. Um, I like Treasure Island and the
You know,
Mirage. So
I think that
I
that's
like a
what
lot of things.
I was about to say. That's really one of the benefits of being able to throw from any position and having several different tosses that you can adjust to the table conditions. So you're not locking into just a few table types. You could pretty much go anywhere you want and use one of these specialty shots.
Any table. I just need maybe a few practice rolls to figure out the bounce and which shot. When I walk into what I have in my wallet is like a menu of my different tosses from each position. And when I get to the table, I see what position's open, and I look at my paper and I look at the little menu. Okay, which shot will work on this table? And that's how the now sometimes there was one time which was really crazy. I used three different I used two different tosses from the same position. Yeah, what happened was I was playing and I was doing the low Yuri shot, and it was working great. And I like to land the dice low. I like to land it about right at the end of the come box,
Hmm.
and and have them and roll right. And there's air under the dice, but it's a good on axis shot from straight out. And I was doing that shot, I was in a groove. But yeah, so next thing you know, somebody puts their chip on field numbers, or was it? No, they were doing come bets. It was right in my way where I was laying the dice. So I can't use that shot now. I don't want to move my landing spot. It's going to screw up the shot. So then I went to my high par shot, my on axis shot, and that worked great. Well, the next thing you know, some other players at that table, they start putting out these paper bonus bets that they get out of the machine, free bets. And
Yeah.
the paper is like, a few inches long, and it's right along land of dice. Well, now I had to do my split shot. I used three different shots on that one roll to beat the casino, and it worked great. I was able to do it. Every shot worked perfectly, but I had a shot for each situation. Sometimes I had to use it during the same roll, depending what was going on in the landing zone.
Yeah. All right. So let's come back over last couple of questions. Trying to. Okay, this one's a good one. You and I actually talked about this. Mark Fernandez is wanting to know: do you use the 5 count taught by the Golden Touch Craps crew?
Okay, now being trained with a golden touch and with par, with Frank Scobletti and the captain's 5 counts is what it was known as. I used a 5 count a lot, and when I was with the guys, golden touch and par. When I didn't use it, I get that look like, peer pressure, like you have to use a 5 count. And it worked very very well because you do miss all the bad rolls. Sometimes people can't even get past a 5 count, so you saved a lot of money. And I do use that sometimes, especially if the table is cold and I'm playing the don't side, and then I see the shooter gets past the 5 count. I'll take my don't bets down.
Yeah.
And if I'm playing the don't side, then I'll place them. I'm not going to take the don't pass the don't come bet down, but I'll place the number. So, I can't lose then. But if I'm laying a number and the shooter happens to get on a decent roll with numbers repeating and gets past 5 rolls, I'll take my lay bet down and I may switch to the do side if I see more numbers repeating. Um,
Yeah. So it's
so
not
the 5 count
necessarily a strict hard rule, but there is a time and a
for
place
me,
for it.
yes. For the average player, I think the 5 count is good. It keeps them off the bad rolls, the short rolls. Now, of course, the disadvantage is if someone gets on a hot roll, you're first starting at roll number 6. You have to play catch up. The people are betting big right away. They're way ahead of you, pressing up their bets. But then again, they may be in a hole because no one's gotten past the 5 count the last, 4 or 5 shooters.
Yeah.
They're in a hole already.
Yeah.
So there's good and bad. To play it safe, you're not risking any money doing a 5 count until see now the reason why golden touch. I know I'm speaking for Dom and everybody, and I hope I'm saying the right thing. Oh, yeah, I hope I'm saying the right thing. But when I was with the group, the reason why we did the 5 count was because we're the advantage shooters. We're the ones that practice. We work hard to learn a shot and practice and get good at this skill. So why are we wasting our money on the random shooters? So you do the 5 count to get past all the random shooters, not lose any money, and then hopefully you have your full bankroll when you get the dice, so that you could have the big roll.
Yeah.
And that was a reason for that.
Okay. All right, so we've got a couple left here. Really quick, Tyler, just want to say thank you very much for your super chat. He wants to tell you, Howard, thank you for the stories. And there's two more. I'm trying to decide which one to go for. Let's go with the roll to win craps. This is my friend Ed. Tell Howard I had the honor of a PSO right beside before his first tosses back at Beau Rivage. It was great to meet you, and he's going to see you in July.
Oh, that'd be great. He'll be at the Biloxi class. That would be great.
Yeah.
Being heavy. Yeah. Do you have the date for that there, Dave? Do you have the date for that class?
Oops. The July 23rd through 25th.
Yeah. It's going to be a great class. And you can sign up for that class on Heavy's website or on my website, howardrocknroller.com is my website, howardrocknroller.com. And I have a link to that class with the links where you can sign up for that class. It's going to be a great class. And then what I like about our classes with Heavy, we take the students out after our class and we play together as a team. And it's so much fun playing with the students. We really have a great time.
So before I get to the last question, and that was going to be from Mike Benton. So before we get to that, I was wondering if you could maybe give some advice, just general advice to maybe some of the newer people that are starting their dice control journey. Their SRR is not as good as yours. How would you advise them in betting so they know what they need to do? They're working on that, but a common question seems to come up: how do you bet when you're not the best?
All right. The best way I could think is watch the table. If you want to write down numbers and kind of chart and see, I like to see how long the rolls are. That's what I'm looking for on my chart. If I see the rolls are short, I'm talking about less than 5, like no one gets past the 5 count, I'm not going to bet on the do side because that's the trend. And sometimes the trend will stay like that for quite a while. It may change. You never know what's going to change because it is a random game, but there are trends. So I would suggest watch the table, watch the shooters. If there's a shooter that has a technique and can land a dice the same spot, throws a dice the same way each time, you can take a chance and shoot and bet on that shooter. If there's a controlled shooter, watch a little bit. Sometimes controlled shooters can be off also. You may want to do the 5 count. But then when you go out, see if the inside numbers are hitting, the outside numbers are hitting. Always bet the 6 and 8 because they should be coming up, the most often. Not always, but supposedly they are. With
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's good. That covered the question.
It gets me to another topic.
Yeah.
about that.
That's a whole other show. Real quick, Howard, and I don't know the answer to this. Do you have a schedule beyond June and July? Is it posted on your?
Because of COVID, I kind of like stayed like a hermit for a full year. I didn't. I mean, I played in my house. I practice here, but I didn't go anywhere for a full year. Normally, what I do is I teach classes around the country. So I always teach in Fort Lauderdale because I have a table right here in my house. So I'm only half hour from the airport. If somebody wants to fly in for the day, I'll even come pick them up. Just pay for the gas. I'll come pick you up. Uh, and and if you stay for a few days, make a vacation out of it. If there's a hotel right nearby, I'll show you the sights. We'll go down to South Beach. We'll go to Fort Lauderdale Beach. I'll show you the girls playing volleyball. I'll show you. I'll show you all the sights. You know, we can become
Nice.
friends. But so I teach in Fort Lauderdale all the time, and all they have to do is contact me on, Howard Rock-n-Roller at gmail.com. That's my, email, my email address. Anyway,
Okay.
so the other place I teach at is Las Vegas. I go out there a few times a year. I have a condo out there with a table there, a craps table, 12-foot table, and I announce in my newsletters uh, where I'm going to be out there, and also on my website. So I have a newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter, and I announce where I'm going to be. My website. Just go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, and between now I'll let you know where I'm going to be. Also, I have a Facebook group called Howard Rock-n-Rollers Craps Group, and I'll announce there where I'm going to be. So I have Fort Lauderdale, I have Las Vegas, maybe 3, 4 times a year I go there, sometimes more often. I usually go there for a few weeks, sometimes a month. And then I teach classes in Atlantic City at a dealer school in Atlantic City. But I'm kind of waiting for the plexiglass to be gone from Atlantic City because I heard that there's a lot of plexiglass, where it's not only in your way and on the sides, but in your face.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for that to improve. Then I'll start doing classes in Atlantic City. And Biloxi, I do classes in Biloxi. And we were doing classes in Tunica, but they closed down the dealer school, unfortunately.
Right.
So I need a place to teach in Tunica. If someone has a crap table in their house that I could use, that would be great. We could do a class there. All I need is a craps table. And I have a friend in Detroit that I've been talking to for a while about doing a class at his place where he has a craps table. So that might be something else. So we're kind of waiting for the Canadian border to open because we like to play in Windsor over there.
Yeah.
So Detroit's also in the future.
All right, Howard. So we've got one last, I guess, request for a story. So this is how we're going to end the show tonight. Let me flip it over here. So Mike Benton out there is wanting to hear about the time at the Wild Wild West in Atlantic City where we're getting all kinds of heat and Harry bounced the dice off a pit boss's forehead. So can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, from what I remember, I mean it's a little blurry because it's a while ago. But Harry goes by the name of Amish dude. And he's a real good friend, a real nice guy. He lives like in the Pennsylvania, no, the Pennsylvania and New Jersey. He lives in that area, and he goes to I think it's New Jersey, and he goes to Atlantic City quite often. And I guess he was protecting me because they would give me a lot of heat. So when he got the dice, he bounced the dice off the pit boss's head. You know, so that's what I remember with that story. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've definitely had some adventures in the casino, Howard, and out of
Oh
the
yeah.
casino. You know, you and I were talking about this, I think, yesterday, or maybe it was even today, how the law of attractions has touched you in every part of your life, whether it's acting or music or art or even craps.
Yes.
Uh, it's always there. It's always an influence on
Yes.
every part of your life.
It's always there, and I go on these adventures, and my wife says living with me is a roller coaster because it would seem like every 10 years I change my career, and then I'd be successful at it.
Yeah.
Whatever I did, I would become a success, and it's just what I feel like doing.
So it's going to
And
be interesting to see what Howard Newman decides to do next.
next, right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So Howard, let's go ahead and wrap the show up. Is there any last comments or anything you want the audience to know?
Well, um, just I look forward to seeing everybody. I have plenty of more stories. People say I should write a book. Lots of stories to share. Sometimes I write stories about things that happen in a casino on my Facebook page, Howard Rock-n-Roller Craps Group. You know, Howard
Yeah.
Rock-n-Roller Craps Group. I do write stories there, um, besides trip reports, and hopefully maybe we'll do a third interview. I have a lot of stories about casino things, heat that they've given me, and I know all the tricks that they do to try to get rid of me. But what I want to tell everybody is, I love playing. It's a passion of mine. And when I first started, I aimed to be the best, and I practiced my butt off over and over for hours and hours, to be good at this.
And I
And
think that's very important for everybody to hear that even though you're in the top 10 rated dice controllers in the world, you still practice your butt off every time, every chance you
I
get.
still practice to overdrive when I'm going on a trip. Then I'll really practice. Right now it's like I'll practice, I'll put on my radio, my music, and I'll practice for an hour here and there. But if a trip is coming up, for example, I am going on a secret trip coming up next week. I'm not going to tell anybody where it is, but I'll be practicing a lot this coming week, next few days. So
Yeah.
I'll be ready. I'll be ready. Yeah.
All
And
right, so let's go ahead and end it there. So, Howard, I look forward to seeing you in June. Some of my friends are going to
yes,
be there, so hopefully we'll
yes,
be able to get some class together. But you and I for sure will be connecting. And if all works out, we might even do a live show from Las Vegas if we have an
that'll be fun.
opportunity. So we'll
Yeah,
stay tuned, audience. We'll see what we can do for that, and hopefully we won't have the same technical difficulties we had today. Howard, please tell your wife Ivy and your son that thank you for your tech support and helping us get started. I know it was a rocky start, but it was a
yeah.
great show. And as always, man, I really enjoy having you on these. It's truly one of my highlights to listen to some of your stories. So thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
back on the show.
Thanks. My pleasure. And I look forward to seeing everybody.
All right. All right, everybody. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next. On April 19th, we have Platinum Craps author Garrison Russell. He's going to be here on the show. In fact, he wrote a little bit about Howard in his book that he's going to talk about. On April 26th, we have the Council of Craps. I should call this the first Council of Craps because it's going to be an ongoing series, I believe, that I'm going to be bringing in some random players throughout the country, and we're going to just ask them questions. What do they think about this? What do they think about that? And it should be a lot of fun. Ron the Don's going to join us on May 3rd to talk about winning a craps tournament. And May 10th, it looks like, I've got a spacing problem there, but May 10th, it's to be determined. I'm actually going to be traveling on the 10th. I'll be traveling home, so we may not be able to do a show on that Monday, but we'll figure that out as the date gets closer. And then on May 17th, Tony Leo returns. So he's getting closer to releasing his wage program, and it'll be fun to hear from Tony one more time. So, guys, that's what we've got coming up. If you like today's episode, please give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate everything. And for all of you gay super chats, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It really does help, and it helps a lot. So thank you. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this show. We'll see you next Monday. Thanks.